Hey everyone, welcome back to my garden. My name is Melissa and I garden here in Oklahoma, Zone 7B. If you're new here, I thought tonight would be super fun to do a garden tour here for mid-July for my backyard suburban garden. We are about to hit a little heat wave, so I really wanted to get a tour in just in case this crazy heat wave takes anything out. So at least you'll be able to see what it was. So I thought we'd start over here with my sunflowers. Okay, so the first ones up are these chocolat sunflowers, and I'm pretty sure I got these from Botanical Interest, but you can see that it is a multi-headed sunflower, and it's got quite a few heads coming off of it. So I have one there. That sunflower I don't think is a chocolat. And then I have one more. So after the sunflowers, this bed also has all of my peppers. We did get all of our peppers from Starts this year because with a 7-month-old at the time, I was in no position to be starting Starts. We were just surviving. So the peppers and the tomatoes are all from Starts this year, which is not saying that's a problem. I just really enjoy starting my own. The pepper crop this year is really great, and I'm excited to show you. This first one here is an Anaheim pepper. It's got some really nice sized fruits on there. Plant itself is not looking great. We had such a really wet and cool spring that I had to pull out quite a few peppers. So your girl has no jalapenos and no shishitos. These are some Melrose peppers, and as you can see, this plant is also not looking great. These are one of my favorites, these candy cane peppers. I just like how pretty the variated leaves are and that the peppers themselves are striped. And over on that side, we've got a couple serrano peppers. Here's a pimento pepper, but not very many peppers on it. These are probably our pride and joy so far, these really pretty Carmen peppers. Over there in the back, we have a Cajun bell, and I'm pretty sure those are cayenne, but I can't see the tag from here. And then these are like a bunch of chilies, and these are really, really hot. My husband cut one up and surprised me the other day with one, and I about died. That is all for the peppers in this bed. And here is my melon and beans monstrosity. So there are 2 Rocky Ford melon plants here. And in between are some beans. Sorry, Daddy. I can't remember the exact variety. We remember the bean variety, but it is a bush stringless bean, just a basic garden bean. You can see some flowers on the beans. I hope it doesn't get too hot for them, but they are doing really, really well in this corner of the bed. They get evening shade and morning sun, so I think they really like being over here. And then as you can see, this monstrosity of a melon plant, it literally goes all the way to the edge of this 8-foot bed and even like intertwines in this trellis. It goes out onto here. Here's my best looking melon so far. And as we make our way through the garden, we now have 3 raised beds. This one did have a summer squash in it. We harvested 1 squash before the squash vine borer got it. So that was quite a tragedy. But now I have some bush beans. Actually, I don't know if they're bush or pole, but we do have some beans. They're like an asparagus bean, so they get like 18 inches long. I thought those would be nice to grow up the trellis. And then in the middle, I have another squash, which I probably shouldn't have planted another squash. I don't know what I was thinking. I think it's a dumpling winter squash. So I thought that would be fun to grow down here. There is how those beans are looking. So I have them up on each side of the trellis. And then here is my little dumpling seedlings, which look pretty good so far, and they're not getting eaten up by roly-polies, so that's always a good thing. The next bed I have over here is my perennial herb garden, which we have a sage, a rosemary, lavender. Lavender, I don't believe is perennial here, but when it goes to seed, it drops the seeds and then it regrows. And that's going to be the same for my curry plant over here. It's not perennial here in zone 7B, but it goes to seed and then it basically reseeds itself. Here you can see super fragrant sage growing. Here is the really pretty lavender. There's nothing in this spot. I really can't get it to grow anything. I'm not quite sure. Oh, I say that, but look. Hope that's something I planted. I've planted so many things here. Is the rosemary. And I actually have a video of me moving these plants into this bed. Here is the curry plant. About 2 years ago, and I can link that down in the description below if you're interested. And this bed has been one of my favorites so far. It really is just a mix of zinnias. I've got mostly giant zinnias in here, and I just went around and picked a bunch of packets and planted them here maybe 2 months ago. I haven't done a really good job of keeping track this year of when all things have been going in. And it's actually been one of my best years yet. So I guess that's kind of cool. But as you can see, these zinnias are very dahlia-like. They have super beautiful blooms. Some of these, this one I could probably deadhead. But I think this is like a sherbet mix. I can't really remember. And then we've got some pink ones. And then just like another really pretty mix. I love zinnias, and they really just thrive here in Oklahoma, especially when it's hot and dry. But yeah, this is what that bed looks like right now. And I really enjoy getting these for fresh bouquets to have on the kitchen counter in the summertime. Okay, and this bed here is another 8 foot, 8 foot, and then 4 foots, 4 foots on the side. And it really just is a hodgepodge of all kinds of different things. So I have a spaghetti squash, a cucumber, I've got eggplants, an echinacea, I have my alpine strawberries. This whole area is tomatoes and a basil plant, and then there's beans and more tomatoes. So let me get to showing you this bed. Okay, so first off is a spaghetti squash plant, which I'm like 99% certain is already on its way out. I'll show you why, because we have a really bad squash vine borer problem here. So I honestly might as well should just pull out this plant. But it got both of them. And I'm real sad because we haven't had a good spaghetti squash from the garden in, oh gosh, 4 years, 3 years. So that's kind of sad. I've got a really gorgeous eggplant here that has an eggplant. That one is a fairy tale eggplant, so I think it's supposed to be that small. I've got one more eggplant over here. I'll have to double check the variety. And then you have my one surviving cucumber, which surprisingly does have a cucumber plant on it. I had the worst start to the season with roly-polies literally demolishing anything I planted, especially my squash and my cucumbers. So that was real fun. And this is the one plant that they didn't eat, but they ate the 15 others. Here I've got an echinacea plant that hasn't quite yet bloomed. Here are some black-eyed peas, which are growing really slowly, and I can't tell if it's because of where they are in the garden or if it's something else. Pretty sure there's a volunteer basil plant there. These were my alpine strawberries, and I think I've mentioned it in another video, but these are third year alpine strawberries. They sort of look like they might be on their way out, and I didn't really garden last year, so I can't remember if this is just what they do. It might be. Next to them, I have a couple varieties of dwarf tomatoes, so you can see some there. This is not even like a foot tall tomato, and it has tons of little baby tomatoes everywhere. This one is a better bush, so very similar. Over here, I have another squash plant. I can't remember the name of this one. It's like a really pretty green squash. I will put it down in the comments. I don't think the squash vine borer has gotten to that one yet. Here I have some little small zinnias. Like I said earlier, these are all the tomatoes. Okay, so first up I have some Roma tomatoes, which I've already gotten a couple off of. This is a determinate variety. And I'm honestly a little surprised that I haven't gotten a whole bunch at once. I probably got 6, and now it looks like there's 6 more coming. This one is the Heat Master variety, and it's got some nice ones hanging up there. This one is Sun Sugar, so you can see it's a cherry variety based on the little groups of flowers that it has. This one hasn't been super productive, but it's possible it might just need some fertilizer to make it a little bit happier. And there's also a nice, gorgeous little grouping of them there. I love yellow pear tomatoes. They're probably one of my favorite tomatoes that we grow. And back in this corner, you can see a sweet little black cherry tomato. And there's only one out of this whole plant. Lots of flowers though, so hoping we get a couple more here. This is also the first year that we've added shade cloth to the garden, and I think it's done a lot of good work. I really like what we got set up here. The tomatoes seem to be really enjoying the shade cloth here, and it's getting dark, so I need to hurry up. Back to the first bed, I forgot to mention that we have some mint julep in this pot. What reminded me was the toothache plant in this pot, and it's supposed to have like mouth numbing qualities. So I'm excited to try that. They look like they're pretty close to blooming. My husband actually planted these, and he's really excited about them. And then in this last container, this last concrete container, I have some chocolate mint that is growing really nicely up this trellis. Before I get into my last bed, I want to say that we did get the green stalk set up. So this is the red, white, and blue one that came out recently, and I actually really love it. So excited to have this to grow in. I have some dwarf tomatoes that I want to put in it, and I think it would just be fun for kind of like odds and ends things that I have seeds for that I don't really have a place in the beds for. And if you've been following along, I also have these 3 containers. That one has asparagus, this one has Aunt Molly's ground cherries, and then this one has a cut flower mix. And look at the little baby asparagus. Here are the ground cherries, and then here is just a mix of some cut flower seedlings. Last but not least, I have to make this quick because baby is very, very unhappy. But I have one more 8x8 for bed, which kind of also has another hodgepodge of things. I've got watermelon, corn, squash, more strawberries, a melon, and the rest of the tomatoes. So this one is a moon and stars watermelon that I've grown in the past and we really enjoy. I think it's so fun how the leaves themselves are spotted. honestly, I threw a squash over here, and I don't remember what kind it is. It might be a pumpkin, it might be a squash, it might be a gourd. I'm not really sure. I have some really beat up sweet corn. Yeah, this is probably why I don't grow corn, but I had the space and I had the seeds this year. So yeah, we tried. We'll see what we get. Got a patch of strawberries over there. Coming into the trellis, you can see my melons a lot better. These are more of a personal cantaloupe, and there's actually quite a few that have gotten pollinated. And last but not least, we have the rest of our tomatoes. This one is a celebrity. This one is a chef's choice yellow, and I don't see too many on them. We have a super sweet 100, which is probably one of my favorite cherry tomatoes. This one is a Bradley tomato, which I don't see any on. And this last one is supersonic, which I actually see a little one there. Oh, oh. And then a not so great looking one over there. And that is the complete backyard garden tour here in my suburban garden here in Oklahoma Zone 7B. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really want to do these every couple weeks or so to show you what all is changing in the garden. So if that sounds exciting, I hope you will subscribe and follow along with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.